We're recording on that. We're recording on Audacity. Okay, are we all ready? So, let me just...
I go to SAIC, which is the School of the Art Institute of Chicago. My focus is sculpture primarily. I do a lot of mixed media stuff with sculptures. I do work in ceramics, but I often bring in a lot of fiber materials, and then will often perform with those objects and direct others to perform with those objects, and then edit that as videos. So mixed media is really my preference. It's definitely an interdisciplinary practice, but sculpture is the primary medium that makes the most sense to me. When I was 19, I had just gotten back from the US after taking a gap year. During that time, my parents were going through a divorce, and I was losing my childhood home and working at this coffee shop bookstore where I had met somebody from SAIC, and it ended up being a strange foreshadowing because I decided to say fuck it. I didn't really like the community college that I was at, and I needed to do a bit more soul searching to figure out what the fuck I wanted to do with my life. I ended up hitchhiking across Route 66, and it starts in Chicago. So I went from Virginia and then took the Amtrak train and various hitchhiking routes up to Chicago, and I found myself wandering around the Bean and then into Millennium Park, and I took that bridge from Millennium Park into the art museum, and somebody handed me a free ticket really randomly because I could have never afforded to get into the museum, and it kind of ended up just being this strange, very synergetic event where the full eclipse was happening, the full moon eclipse, and I was inside of this art museum and in front of an altarpiece that I was praying in front of, and I found out that it was also a school, and I knew that more than anything this is what I wanted. I know that it's a ridiculous thing to want to pursue and that there's no stability in that, but I'd rather pursue this than anything else, and it's what makes me most happy. I know that I need to be in the art world. There's not another place for me.
Okay, so I make these stickers. They say trans is beautiful. I try to put them everywhere I can, on the street and sometimes in bathrooms. I sell them for $1 each, and when I sell them, I give trans people free ones. I just spreading trans joy and positivity, and the thought of a trans person seeing this on the street and it making them feel really good. It's just a nice thought. I hope that happens. I do drag. I'm a drag artist, so it feels like there are endless possibilities with it, because to me it feels like there's no wrong way to do it. Using your own body as a canvas can be so many things and can mean so much to different people, especially when you're bringing yourself and what's inside of you into it. It's also just extremely fun to watch, and it's an expression of queer joy, and it makes me really happy. And also messing with gender is really fun to do, and to watch other people mess with gender kind of made me feel like I had permission to do it myself, which led to me figuring out more of my own gender stuff. Back home in New York, I host drag shows in parks. Those are always super fun. It's just a bunch of friends just performing whatever they want, really, and people are really into it. It's a lot of fun. This is the first garment I've ever made. So my drag name is Double Mastectomy, and I try and be as celebratory as possible about transness. It's kind of what I do, why I do what I do. Bedazzled these top surgery scars. It's kind of hard to get on and off. And also it's going to be really hard to wash. I've already sweated in it. And it still smells. I don't know how I'm going to wash it, but I'll figure it out.
Ready?
Yes.
Okay, let's go.
Ready to go. Okay, so I'm going to introduce you to some of my little creatures that I've got around. Up here, we have Priscilla the frog. I got her on my birthday, my 18th birthday. I bought her for myself. This is tentatively Barney. Squash Blossom is in her festive gear. This is Popcorn. He's a dog toy. This is Norbert the gnome. He watches over us. I have this little monster guy with like a chicken and a duck on his head. Beetlejuice the bear. These guys are my favorite. They're called Fugglers. He's got a golden buttonhole. Build-A-Bear carcasses that are yet to be stuffed. Strawberry dog and bubble tea.
I got an idea.
That's 3.
For real life.
That's 4.
Let's do this.
That's back to the first one. So that's 4, right? However, I've got a bone to pick, and this is going to be me doxing this company. It's going on a documentary, and this is going to blow up. Let's see. What's that say? 9 phrases, and you guys saw it here. 4. There were only 4, so I've been duped. Right now, I am a Columbia College Chicago double major in acting and American Sign Language interpreting. I chose to go to Columbia because they have a really great sign language program and acting program. My mom taught me like baby signs as a baby, but that's not real sign language. But like that's kind of where my interest in it started. I think it really like picked up when I moved to DC. The deaf community is so prevalent there. I met a lot of deaf people that were in my school, and like I just interacted with them all the time. The relationships that I formed were so impactful. Sign language was a language that really spoke to me, and it's something that I'm super passionate about. And I also think that it's a really visual and like storytelling based language, which is just like fascinating to me. So I went and saw Pinocchio at Gallaudet University. The entire play was in sign language, and I had already loved theater and I had already loved sign language at that point, and I didn't realize that they could be put together. And then seeing them put together, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do with my life. And so that's when I was like, I'm gonna do both.
So I study art history and philosophy in University College Cork, and then here I'm studying in Columbia College, Chicago. I'm on my study abroad year. I always wanted to do it. I'm quite an adventurous person, but I chose America specifically post-pandemic because I was so bored. Like half my college career was online, in fact, possibly more than half. And I came to choosing study abroad options. And I remember thinking America might be a lot of things, but it's not boring. I had to live somewhere somewhat walkable, which ruled out a lot of places in America. I wanted to be in a major city. I had visited Chicago in 2019 and I had a really good feeling about it. So I put it down and I got it. One of the reasons I actually wanted to do art history was because I felt I wasn't very good at descriptive writing. And I was going to college and I was like, okay, what is ultimately the most descriptive writing you could possibly encounter? And I was like, what's more visual than art? What's more descriptive than writing about it? It's such a thing of, you know, art not having necessarily any survival value, but giving value to your survival. And it's at the same time so frivolous considered by some people, and then so visceral. Like the first things you will ever find from any civilization are beads and jewelry and decoration. You find them almost as old as you find knives and means to hunt. Because I'm Catholic and Connor's Protestant, and because that's like historically a huge deal in Ireland, my brother rather distastefully calls it an interrelationship. Have you heard him say that? Because that's what they call it in the north. Oh god, no, that's not. I should not make the comment. Sam also likes to go on nights out with Connor, go around introducing Connor to everyone, be like, hey, have you met this guy? He's great, isn't he? And they go, oh yeah, he's great. And then Sam goes, he's fucking my sister.
So how did this all come together?
The body pillows or the relationship?
It's two very different stories.
Two very different stories. I met him about 10 years ago when we were like 12 or 13.
We were at a debate in her school because we both went to gender-based schools.
He was from like one of the local boys' schools, and I was attending a girls' school, and we would debate across each other.
It was a Christmas debate, and I remember that at the end of this debate, I have no idea what the topic was on, but at the end of it, Niamh went around and handed candy canes to everybody. You know, or at least to everyone who participated in the debate, but didn't give one to any of the judges. And she was like, oh no, you know, I wish I could, but that would be bribery, or I could be construed as bribery. Like, she was very self-conscious of that. And I remember seeing this woman, and I was like, wow, what a really, really happy person. That's awful.
And then when we were in college, we ended up going to the same university, and we reconnected and became really good friends.
A mutual friend of ours then was like introduced Niamh and I again, and you know, we were like, oh yeah, you know, we've met before, you know, because we both recognise each other, and then kind of just like through that, then we started just interacting a lot more and spending a lot of time together.
And then when the kind of pandemic hit, my like inner circle was a lot smaller. So I was kind of hanging out with the same people a lot again and again, and Connor was one of them.
We were interacting more and just kind of like had a lot of like similar ideas, or just like I really felt that kind of the more we got to know each other, the more I resonated with her.
And I decided to study abroad and come here because I just really needed the change. And when I was here, I realised how much I missed him. And it wasn't the same like missing my other friends. It was like, oh, this is a bit yearny.
It was then when Niamh left for studying in the States that I was like, wow, you know, I really miss this person.
I was thinking, fuck, I think I might really like this guy.
I've had parents away for long tours, and you know, siblings away for long periods of time. I've never really felt attached, like very emotionally attached, even to like my parents or a lot of people, and or to anyone else. And then it was kind of like when Niamh left, I was like, oh word, like, oh, I really miss this person, you know.
I came home for Christmas and I remember I saw him and I was like, oh yeah, that's what it is. A few days later I was like, I have to go and tell him. So I went to his house to tell him, and he made me dinner. Like, he would just look at me and like with this just like very portrait of a lady on fire gaze, you know, like a little like intense stare, and I was like, I can't.
We got a bit drunk and stoned, and I was like, look, I think we make great couple. We make a great couple. She's like, yeah.
Yeah, bro.
Yeah. And then we like fell asleep, like happened. I woke up the next day, and then like she was like, okay, goodbye, kiss me goodbye, and I was like, do I have a girlfriend? I essentially had to establish through text. Weird. They were dating, but like genuinely, the best 3 weeks that I've had with you. Outside then coming here, finding it to see you again. Yeah, that's how it started.
Oh my gosh, I fall in love too easily. I wish that I didn't, but I just begin to like romanticize everything about them and get so caught up in like the flutters of butterflies and probably like idealize them too much. And I think I just really am someone who like goes with the flow. And so often that can mean like fully like launching yourself down one path as soon as you see it opening up as like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna full-heartedly like put all of myself into this and like fling myself with everything that I have, because why hold back? I find it quite easy to fall in lust. I find it quite easy to have fun with people. I think that's kind of one of the joys of being young, but I take the business of being in love very seriously. So I'm not really the kind of person to give my heart away all too quickly.
I think it's really easy for me, but then convincing my rational brain that I am actually in love is where the real challenge comes in, especially because I have like so many walls built up around romance right now.
I always start second guessing myself because it feels like it has to be this big, huge thing. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's just feeling really, really comfortable with someone and enjoying being around them. But that's also something I feel with a lot of my friends. So sometimes it's hard to differentiate between romantic feelings and platonic feelings.
So basically my entire like dating life as an adult has been digital. It's a little bit more straightforward. Like I don't have to guess like, oh, is this person single? Is this person straight? Like if you're on my Tinder feed, I'm going to assume that we're looking for the same thing. And I didn't really know how outside of school how to meet people. I didn't think that happened anymore. I thought that like modern dating was Tinder.
I have met a lot of my good friends on apps, especially Grindr. Like, you'd be surprised how many people I'm really close with now who I met on Grindr.
If I was like in the corporate world or smaller circle to pull from, I probably would like lean on apps more, but I don't think anything can beat like a vibe check. All my romantic partners have been met through college or parties or class or very serendipitous kind of situations like that. I actually really don't look for how they treat me as such as much as I look for how they treat other people or how they speak of other people. Do they tip? Are they polite? Do they, you know, speak kindly to their friends? Do they speak kindly about their friends?
Really good sense of humor is important to me. Kinky. Fruity.
Communication is definitely the number one important thing for any kind of relationship. Not having a willingness to communicate is the biggest red flag for me.
Okay, an ick is like when somebody just does something that you're like, oh, you did not just do that. Like, you are the worst person for that. Like, all of a sudden, like, any idea I had of you shattered. Like, no. My ex would wake up every morning, first thing, and drink a PBR. Like, ugh, disgusting.
Being stingy and bitter and like abusing service workers is like a non-negotiable for me because you're just treating another person with so much disrespect. It's literally classism.
People who don't drink tea or coffee but drink hot chocolate, that is a major ick for me. I know that's like so superficial, but it's just, yeah.
Okay, so I'm an ASL major, and I have a couple signs that I really like. One of my favorites right now that I've been kind of like hyper fixated on is the sign for forbidden or illegal is just like, I just think it's so cool. So anytime anybody does something mean to me, I'm just like, then there's like a kind of signs that I'm a little bit like obsessed with. They're called lexicalized signs, and it's basically signs that are just a shaped version of how you fingerspell something. So for example, my favorite example is dog. So you fingerspell dog, D-O-G, but if you do that really fast, D-O-G, 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 it ends up just going like this. So you snap, and you're fingerspelling dog when you snap, and it works on two levels because you're fingerspelling it, but then also like, how do you call a dog? You're like, Iowa, Florida, I know. Champ is a fun sign, and that's an ASL idiom for like the best of the best. So if like somebody tells a joke and you're like in stitches, like you'll just say that they're champ. Or if you take a bite of something and it's like the tastiest thing you've ever had, you're like, champ. I'm trying to think of like a dirty sign. One second. I have this amazing book here. It's the Super Smutty Sign Language Dictionary. Fancy shoes, want fuck, bondage, blowjob, cunnilingus, and then finally the signs for I love you and I really love you I think are super cute because a lot of people don't realize that it's finger spelling. It's another lexicalized sign. You're finger spelling I. So this is the letter I, this is the letter L, this is the letter Y. So if you do those all together, I-L-Y. I-L-Y, I love you. And then if you do I really love you, because this is I-L-Y-R, so I really love you.
What are the 5 love languages? It's like acts of service, touch. I don't even know what they are. But I feel like I have all of them.
Gift-giving,
Gift
quality
giving.
time.
I am pretty big on physical touch. I come from a very physically affectionate family. On Saturday or Sunday mornings, like up until I was like in my mid-teens, my parents and my brother would all crawl into my bed and would all like sit and have chats and like plan what we're gonna do for the day, and it was very physically affectionate house. That is definitely true.
Oh, I love words of affirmation. That's a big one. I will write entire poems for people. I will absolutely just like, especially in the beginning, like serenade them and worship them.
I like to make things for people who I like, especially stuffed animals, so they can have something to hold.
I made a vintage style Playboy cover for Connor. I filmed it in this very room with my friend Chloe, and then she edited it, and then my friend Mayha printed it out, and I wanted it to look like an original. You see I've edited it so it says February 2022, price is $69.69. I thought that was pretty funny. Read, I misspelled his name. I said Connor McQuan instead of Connor McEwen. Connor McQuan has great taste in women. Followed by page 6, big thighs and brown eyes.
Come her birthday, I was like, well, I now see the standard for gifts.
You saw my hand and you raised it.
I was like, I know what I need to do. I need to send something similar. But I don't have quite the artistic mind as Neov. I'm creative, but in a more playful way. So I was like, I know, I'll get her a body pillow of me because I'm not going to be there while she's here. So, you know, be a picture of me to hold.
So I get a text on my birthday being like, oh, your birthday present's arrived. You know, open the package. I opened it and I was like, wow. And then I showed it to a friend of mine who was staying with me here. I was like, oh, look at this body pillow. And she was like, oh. I was like, I went, whoa. Where do I put it? Like, there's just no room. And then I get a text from Connie saying, by the way, the company made a mistake. They're sending a second one. I have a really small bedroom upstairs. It's about, is it 6 feet by 6 feet?
If even.
If even. These body pillows are about a third of my bedroom.
So I am in a relationship. We're in an open relationship. I'm open. They are monogamous. In an open relationship, the terminology is really important, and differentiating between being polyamorous and being open is really important in like managing expectations, because in an open relationship you don't have other romantic partners, and then in polyamorous relationships you do. So one is basically like sex and the other one is like love and sex and other stuff. So when we first met each other, I told them I'm not looking for a relationship. If I do get in a relationship, I'm non-monogamous. And they didn't like that. And I was like, okay, well, if you don't like it, we're not dating. And then I caught feelings for them. And then I kind of sacrificed myself and was like, okay, I guess I'll try being monogamous. And it worked out for a while, but that was because we had the honeymoon phase and like, you know, couldn't keep our hands off of each other. And then there was an 8-month dry spell where they just seemed to want nothing to do with me. Like, sex is a very important thing to me, especially for communicating like feelings of love to other people. It kind of started hurting my own like self-image, and I basically told them like I can't function without getting this need met somewhere, and we've been open ever since. Being open works really well for me, but for us as a couple, it definitely doesn't, because they're monogamous and their brain is just wired differently. We don't function the same way. So trying to get them to understand, like, it's not about you not being good enough. It's about I just need, like, multiple people. That's just how my brain works. And they don't understand that. So it's always a battle of me trying to, like, reassure them and them never believing me. As an individual, it works really, really well for me. And I've like never been happier. But as a couple in this specific relationship, it's kind of the undoing of our relationship. You just have to find somebody that like is wired a similar way as you, and they aren't, so they just don't understand it the way I do.
This past summer, I was in a relationship with 2 people. We were a throuple. Kind of a newish thing for me. It was our first poly relationship, like for all of us. So it was a little weird at first, just kind of managing that dynamic and like dealing with new like jealousy feelings when you're living in a society that puts a real big emphasis on monogamy. It's very easy to feel like there's only a finite amount of love that people are able to give. So if someone loves someone else who's not you, it's very easy to fall into the mindset that there's not enough love for you that exists. But love is not a finite resource. It's not really something that can just run out. Something I've learned is that people can get different things from different partners, but it doesn't take away from the other person.
I like the ones that have these like blue sort of strange streaks in them, and the purpley ones.
I like the purpley ones a lot. Honestly, I feel like the whole looks so much greater than the individual parts.
Yeah.
This project started because I had a bunch of extra clay after the semester, and I brought it home around Christmas break, and we were talking about like tiling the kitchen and what we wanted to do it with, and I had the idea to do like vaginal tiles. I think that me was also talking about doing more like anthropomorphic, like boob little doorknobs.
I wanted boob knobs on the cabinets. Yeah. I was very set on boob knobs.
It was kind of just a funny conversation that led into why don't we just go for it, and we were just sitting at the counter over there and kind of laughing and making fun of ourselves because we just seems like such a like paradigm of what you would expect some like lesbian art school bitches to be doing in their free time, is just like making a bunch of freaking vaginas, and like
I remember thinking how insanely predictable we were and how this was everything the conservatives think hairy feminists in college like are.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because all the forms Maeve has made are very organic, they're very curvaceous, and then all the ones I've made are kind of more geometric and sharper.
I think it's also sentimental to me because I feel like Neve has been coaching me ever since she came here through this like sexual awakening, and I'm like, you know, I called myself straight before she came, and after I'm like I'm a real lesbian now.
Okay, Pinocchio.
I know. I want to be a real boy. And now we just got to figure out what to do with them from here. I think we're gonna mount them up in the kitchen somewhere, but I'm like, is this a little much?
Is this aggressive for our guests when they come?
It's a lot, especially once they're glazed.
I also feel like, I mean, I love the red ones, but I feel like the red ones look really
gruesome.
They look somewhat gruesome.
They're kind of bloody.
They're kind of bloody, Yoni.
In like 7th grade, I found someone on Instagram who said they were non-binary. I googled it, and I think it took me to like the gender wiki with all the lists of all the genders, and I was like, oh, this makes sense. Non-binary, that feels really right.
My like roller coaster with my sexuality is kind of all over the place. I came out as a bisexual girl at like 11, I think. Then after that, I identified as a lesbian woman. Then I was a gender fluid, it's like only attracted to people with vaginas. So that was like out of trauma because I was like traumatized and I was like, I cannot be around penises. Then trans man, only into people with vaginas. Then trans pansexual man, now trans queer man, polyamorous, with quite a lean towards, ironically, people with penises.
I've honestly been kind of going through this like whirlwind identity crisis of being like, okay, what does it really like mean to be gay? Am I just telling myself that I'm gay? Am I even like allowed to be gay? Do I just want to be gay because it's like cool to be gay now? Like I went to a thrift store and I was like, okay, now I need to like dress more lesbian, so I'm going to start wearing like ties and suspenders and baggier clothes.
I guess I didn't really realize, so I was maybe 18. I definitely went back and forth on a lot of things before that. I'm a lesbian, but oh, I like men, but oh, like all girls kind of like girls because girls are so pretty. And then I sort of revised that and thought, no, that's maybe questionable.
I thought it was a thing that everyone knew about and accepted that made my coming out a very rude awakening. I kind of went back into the closet for a little bit after coming out just because of how the reactions were. I said I was female to male for a while just so that people would take me seriously. For sexuality, I kind of stopped looking for a label for it because everything I found kind of felt too constricting for me. Same with gender labels and sexual, or mostly gender labels, but this could be true for sexuality labels too. I feel like they're really more made for cishet people to understand us than to help us actually understand ourselves.
I was thinking of at some point doing like a plush ground or like, oh, it's just so bright.
Yeah.
I almost want it to be like a crown.
I know.
Where they crucifix
I want to
you.
make more crowns.
Aww.
I need better clay for it though.
I would buy a crown.
But what is the vibe of this party?
The vibe is a cross between a house show and an art gallery.
Okay, work.
I've had parties where there are like random freshmen chugging bottles of Prosecco on my balcony pretending like it was a visa, and that's my worst nightmare.
Like it's a piece. That's fucking
We're
funny.
not going for that.
We're not trying to go for the rager energy.
We don't want, we would love to fill this house with interesting, intelligent people. And
Smart people only. Fuck you if you're dumb.
if you're stupid,
You can't
you're
be
not
dumb.
allowed inside.
Take a BuzzFeed quiz to find out.
You're gonna take the corner, and you're gonna toss them out like this. Just really like shove it on there. There you go. That's all.
Okay, work.
Just 3 points of contact and you're good.
Okay.
So like with my current partner, I haven't been happy with them in a long time, but I'm still here with them, and it's just because I kind of like refuse to give up on it, because I do see that there's like this tiny little nugget of gold on the inside of our relationship. As much as I'm unsatisfied with them, I don't think that I would say that I'm like out of love with them. Like I still feel like I'm, if not in love with them, I still love them. I think it is maybe mostly a thing of like trying to hold on to knowing that there is some good left in our relationship. I think the only way I've ever really been able to fall out of love is after a breakup and then just like time. I would say that I still like love some people that I have dated in the past, but I'm not in love with them anymore, but like they hold a special place in my heart.
It's so easy to get caught up in the romance of a moment, and especially like when you're traveling and it's just kind of a fling and everything around you is perfect, and then you start to realize that like you're in a semi like constructed world of your own like paradise like bubble. And as soon as it requires like real commitment or getting to know that person or dealing with hardship outside of that, things kind of start to like crumble, and you realize that like, you know, there's so much more to a person than how they like first present themselves, and it's like a very like sobering experience. And I wouldn't necessarily call it falling out of love, but it's has a sort of like realism to it where it's like, okay, now you still care about this person and you're probably a little bit attached to them, but they're not necessarily the ideal lover that you made them out to be.
When I see posts on Instagram that are like, oh, a talking stage with a new person, broke. Talking to my favorite ex, woke. I'm like, I don't understand that. Like, I don't understand people that just talk to their exes. It doesn't make sense to me. Ideally, I would like to be friends with them because I think they are a nice person and they're fun to be around. But I don't think that that's something that could happen, at least not for like a couple of years, just because I know that their feelings for me would complicate that.
My hope is always that I can still have the other person in my life as long as they weren't like abusive to me or anything like that, because I never really want to be on bad terms with someone who I care about, but it doesn't always work out like that.
Heartbreak is something that is ripping out your chest and bawling your eyes out and having those like deep, heavy sobs that shake your whole body and make you feel so drained and tired afterwards. And you think that it's done because you've cried all of the tears that you can and you're so ready to be over it, and it still sticks this like pain in your chest that you just want it to fucking end. But it's always like popping up in the most inconvenient times. And it feels like grief. It feels like somebody's dying and you're having to like get over that and know that they still exist and are out there, but that they're just never going to work out for you.
There's obviously both joy and pain in everyone's life. But I think at this period, I haven't lost a huge amount romance-wise. There's maybe 2 people that I was kind of hung up on and I had heartbreaks over. But I would say overall, there's so much more love in the regard of like coming home and, you know, saying hi to Maeve, my roommate, and having like late night chats, or, you know, having, you know, a cheeky 3 a.m. cigarette with a friend and, you know, talking and solving the world's problems, and, you know, calling your mom or your dad and just bitching about how your day went and calling your partner. I think all of those things I have, and I would say overall my life is filled with much more love than heartbreak.
Heartbreak for me is usually less about the actual relationship itself and more about what it makes me think about myself and about the world. Because I usually jump to these big generalizations like, oh, if this person doesn't care about me anymore, then how can anyone care about me? But it's more of what, like, the doors in my brain that it opens up that I usually need to keep closed, or else I spiral down into this, like, bad thought pile.
I don't know how to cope with heartbreak. I just fucking try to not be alone so that I can not think about like how lonely I am and how things could have ended. The thing about heartbreak is that it's so crushing because it's that one person who you really like put all of your trust into and hope into and felt so like reassured by and comforted by. That security of just knowing how loved you are and having that like ripped away from you can be so startling that it feels like you have to do something, or you've like lost some like value in yourself, or like start to question things. And it's like, for me, being known that I am like very much loved by other people in other ways helps to fill that void and makes me realize that, like, you know, there's more to life and things continue and you'll always meet more people and you don't need to go like seeking that in partners or like romantic validation.
There's a huge difference between infatuation and love. I think infatuation's kind of euphoric. I think it's immediate. It just hits you like a ton of bricks, and it's wonderful in of itself. But I think it's dangerous to confuse that with love. I think love is conscientiousness. I think it's consistency. I think it's knowing someone's flaws. Love is the renunciation of all possession of a person. If you truly love someone, you love them completely separately to you. You see them as a real human person. But if you're infatuated with someone, I think you see the person in terms of their relationship with you. Or you see them as some kind of idolized figure.
So I didn't have to deal with driving. I just took like a bus to Milwaukee and then Amtrak down here.
Yeah, no, I take the Amtrak.
I said inquiry.
Right? That's what I said. I was like, that's not far off. Yeah, go
I know, it's like
Great interaction.
oh my god, you're just hiding in there? You fully saw me and didn't say anything? Oh, it's so good to see you.
I think to love is to be vulnerable. It can lead to so many beautiful feelings, but it could also lead to so many terrible feelings. But I think the beauty of those nice feelings is definitely worth the potential heartbreak. Even when there is heartbreak, you can learn from that. You can either learn stuff about people in general, about that person specifically, or learn stuff about yourself and find new ways of coping. Learn new things about what you need in a relationship. Like, notice what you weren't getting from that past relationship and apply that going forward, knowing this is what wasn't working, this is what needs to work this time. Something that's kind of new for me, like a new concept for me, is boundaries. Like having my own boundaries, you know. I didn't really think of my own boundaries at all. Figuring that out has been extremely helpful in going forward with other relationships, sexually or romantically, or even platonically. But it all comes from trial and error. If someone does something that makes me uncomfortable, I'm like, oh, why did that make me uncomfortable? It's because I don't like when someone does this to me. Oh, that's a new boundary. I have a list in my phone because I forget.
If you look at it, it's a shitty fucking investment, objectively speaking. You look at a person, you kind of like their vibe, and you just decide, okay, I'm going to spend a lot of time with this person. Let's see if they're my person. And you do this for hours and days and weeks and months, and then you just see if the shit sticks to the wall. Horrific investment. Such a shitty plan. But we literally have we've no other hope, no other way of doing it. What else would we be doing with our time? There's no other way to live a life other than accepting that it's going to hurt a bit. And I think you can be completely consumed by fear.
Oh fuck, love is kind of terrifying. Like, real true love, when you care about somebody so deeply, it has this power outside of you that is kind of uncontrollable and uncanny, and a lot of that is like so much of the passion of love. And for like that real true love that really has a certain resonance within you, it's something that, I don't know, it seems like it's a little like softer and subtler and consistent, and it has a sense of like quietness but strength of like true dominance, like in the way that like a real leader doesn't need to like assert their power but allow others to like exist within that and lead in their own way. In the same way that love is something that I feel like is such a strong centrifugal force that it doesn't really require you to ever like really necessarily like prove it or serve it, but has such a strength that you automatically cater to it. As I grow older, it seems that love can take so many different like shapes and sizes. A true romantic love is something that has like such a gravity that you can kind of just like tell a couple is a couple even if they're not like looking at each other or necessarily acting affectionate or like sneaking glances at each other. It's kind of just like makes sense, you know, and it has this like guiding force that isn't necessarily like assertive or dominant, but is so much more powerful in the sense that it doesn't have to be. It's because it knows what it is, and there's a lot of like security in that.